Welcome to Why Wait? Look better, feel better, be your best from the inside out with me, Georgette LePage. Tune in each month as Dr. Pat Baccili and I discuss topics that are often seen as roadblocks to weight loss. Each discussion will offer you practical solutions for transformational changes. Being healthy doesn't have to be hard or impossible. Empowering yourself with new strategies and new ideas can jumpstart your healthy journey and bring forth a tidal wave of joyful, positive results. I live and breathe what I teach. Allow me to be living proof of what can work for you. Your brain is your best asset, so you'll learn how to take charge of your thoughts, feelings, and actions. Are you ready for the real results you want? We'll see you there.
Hey, everybody, welcome. It's so great to have all of you tune us in and turn us on. And this is a very important show. Of course, the show is Why Wait? And this is what Georgette LePage does. But if you go over to Georgette's website, which is Georgette LePage, LePage, and you take a look, you're going to be able to see what we're talking about when you look at her programs, look at her message, look at her vision, look at who she is. Because this is a topic that is so important, and it is surrounded by guilt and shame. I know this, you all heard me talk about the other day when I talked about my sister and what her struggles were. Yes, her struggles were about weight, but were they really? They were about guilt. They were about shame. They were about things that she just could not face on her own. Fast forward to where we are today. We're living in a world now where you can get help, and that's without shame and without guilt. Today, Georgette's going to take us on a pathway about what to do when you fall off your weight loss path. If you're in recovery, they say you fell off the wagon. Georgette.
Hello. That is true, because for all the stories we've had, this has been weaving into one big story. This is a piece that's probably the most realistic piece for people. And this is the point where when you do make mistakes and you do kind of fall off the wagon, fall off the path, you have two choices. You can either quit, throw in the towel, say, never mind, I'm done, go back to old habits, or you can pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and move forward and try again.
Yeah.
Now, 95% of people who, try weight loss fail, because ultimately they're not able to handle when things don't go well, and so they give up. And some people, for them, it's not a very long amount of time because we like things fast. And for some people, it's just they're discouraged and they've just had enough, and they've kind of decided this is just how it is. I have to live this way. But that is not the case. Luckily, anytime you have a little bump in the road or a redirection, a detour, anything, you have those two choices. So today we're going to talk about ways to pick yourself back up and move forward, because once you're not starting from scratch the second time, you're starting from experience. And I've seen that quote so many places, and I want to make it really big in my office someday. I love that, because we give up easily and we think, oh, I just didn't do it, never mind the whole thing. And we forget that the little steps of progress do count.
I want to stay with that for a moment, because you're right on. And what happens is, and I shared my sister, what happens is, and I've been in the same place, if you let that take up too much space in your mind, we're not going to remember what you just said. But here's what I remember. I remember interviewing Gloria Steinem, like over a decade ago, and giving her an award, almost like a life achievement award. And I remember asking the question, and she said something to me I never forgot. She said, Pat, all of us stand on the shoulders of everyone and everything that has come before. Why can we not look at weight loss, our bodies in that way? We stand on our own shoulders of experience, of progress. But yet, Georgette, what is it? We remember what we just haven't done right.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
That's called your brain, and your brain likes things easy. Your brain likes to press that easy button anytime possible, and any change to the system, the structure, the habits, and your brain doesn't know what to do because its job is to keep you safe.
Yeah.
And so when you kind of veer out and try something new, doesn't
Mhm.
really know how to handle it. So it's just retraining
Yeah.
your thinking and getting out of your own way. We've said that a million times this year.
Yeah.
And it's bound to happen. Nothing is perfect. No one is perfect.
Yeah.
And no way to eat or move your body is perfect. We have to kind of adapt here and there. And so flexibility comes into play too. And we'll talk about that today, because without that, you are setting yourself up for being disappointed overall. But it doesn't have to be that way, for sure.
How do we get here? I want to ask you, how do we get to the point where we feel like our weight loss efforts have been derailed? And that's an interesting word. There are some people that absolutely look at, I have totally messed up here. I am never going to get back. I mean, we play this tape over and over again, but give us your insight, what you've seen, what you've done yourself. Because look, I know for myself, I learned the power of a vision board a long time ago. I also learned that it doesn't matter how far I stray, I can always get back. But we don't look at weight loss like that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. We are so quick to judge ourselves, and we want something so fast that really, in all of the things to do, this is one of the most kind of, in some ways with our minds, the most difficult one, especially for women. Because, and especially as the years go by, you just either decide that you've had enough and that's your breaking point and you make some changes, or you just kind of give up and say, well, this is just the way it is. I've made mistakes. I just can't do it. So a lot of it is retraining yourself to believe in yourself, that you are worth the work, because it is work, but then it becomes automatic. And so if you can hang out for a while and be patient and go through the steps that you need and make it part of your life so that it's very automatic, very easy, which is something a lot of my clients will always tell me, I can't believe I lost this much weight with something that's so easy. These are all simple strategies, and they were right in front of me the whole time. I just didn't see them. I was expecting some big magic something, and it didn't arrive that way. So I didn't know what to do. So it's really just making a decision. This is for my health. And I want to look better. I want to feel better. First has to start on the inside. We've said that all this year. It's got to start inside with your thinking, and then it pushes to the outside. And so it's really a decision. And not to blame the past, not to blame your genetics. There is a small part of that yes, you have to work a little harder on some things, but not all the time. You don't need to eat the same way that you did growing up. You don't need to not exercise the same way maybe your parents did. You have choices. And so that's the biggest thing. And right now, right before the holidays, can be very hard. That's when some of my clients have done their best work, because they wanted to kind of prove to themselves that although all the things are around right now,
I agree.
They can do it. And we talked about that, I think, last time or the time before.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. Let me ask you about this, because here's where I want to go with it for a hot minute, if you'll allow me to.
Sure.
Where I go to in the conversation is when I look at what we're talking about today. What I love about anytime I've started this now, and I'm doing this for myself, there are two things I want to comment on. My own personal story that I had to let go of around this. And here, my story was this. Took gabapentin, nerve blocker. Oh my goodness. Right. Okay. I had to turn that thing around about a month ago. That said, all of that may be true, but that's not the whole truth. What's my whole truth? So I had to get in touch with that, because yes, it did have some effect, but nothing that I couldn't, what do you call it? Overturn. The other thing, though, that's really important about what you're talking about is the fact that this time of year, we can be of several minds. So how does this mind sound? You ready?
Sure.
Well, Well, it's the holidays again. I'm just going to eat everything that I see because I'm just going to wait. Okay, that's one mind, right? Then there's the other one is, well, here's the holidays again. I'm just not going to buy it. But if somebody else has it out there, I'm going to eat it. So that's another little mind up here. And then there's the other one, which I love, which took a while. And I think you're talking about this one. And it's the one that says, yes, the holidays are coming. And I can get really smart about my approach to the holidays so that I'm not having to overturn something that I don't feel good about. I still can have fun. We're not saying you can't eat, but we might be saying don't take option number one.
That you said
Right?
that's beautiful. That is beautiful. And that is it. In fact, that you don't have to go to extremes. You don't have to not eat anything because that's not good. You don't have to say, oh, never mind. I'm too far in now. It's 3 weeks away. What difference can this make? I always do, oh no, I always do this every holiday and I look so big and I feel terrible. I'm in the back of pictures all the time. I might as well just accept that. Again, not necessary. You really, it's your chance. It's your chance to just say, here I go. Regardless of where I was before, let's just learn from the past. Let's not live in the past. We have to live in the present and have a vision toward the future. So the past is really like, I've always used the analogy of driving a car. When you drive a car, you look forward. Okay. Occasionally you'll look back up and look in that mirror, but we don't drive looking backwards. That would be disastrous. But yet with weight loss, we do. I have had so many clients say, oh, I tried everything. And I used to think that too for me. And that's not possible. That's not really possible. So it's not that there's one thing for everyone that works. You have to find your thing. You have to find what works for you and you have to move forward with it. And you sometimes need a little help because this is a hard time of year for people too, to stay focused and not give up and not just bury themselves in a plate of cookies. I always use cookies because I do like them. But, for example, a lot of times I've talked about my, sugar-free holidays now, and I'm still there since the 11th of September. And is it easy? No, I was just at a store the other day and I looked and I thought, instead of wanting all these things, I'm looking at the ribbon candy that my grandmother used to put out. And I thought, well, there's a nice warm thought. And I've had ribbon candy. I've had plenty in my lifetime. Move on. So you kind of can flip things and you don't have to eat everything that comes out, but you can plan for things. And we've talked about the Sweet Saturday concept of, okay, I'm trying to lose some weight now. So I'm going to kind of plan things out a little bit. Maybe on Saturdays is when I'm going to have one thing. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to move on because my focus is losing some weight or maintaining my weight. Maintaining weight is actually harder than losing weight. But yeah, it's really getting inside your own head and not punishing yourself, but saying, this is a great time right now. Let's not wait later. Let's do it now. And you'll be very surprised how motivating that is.
Yeah. And I think what you're talking about is, and we're going to take a short break and come back and address this though, because what we're really talking about is what many of us don't really consider. And those things are options, right? So a lot of times we look at them as alternatives or sacrifices, but really what we're talking about, the options and the possibilities of what we might do. And, part of looking at this is, let's say we do something. I mean, we have millions of people. I'm not kidding. The numbers are out now. Millions. Actually, it's like tens of millions of people around the world that are coming out of COVID, right? And they don't look the same as they did before. Yeah. And they, don't know what to do. It is such a problem of guilt and shame around how one's body has changed from this, that some people will not even go back to work. So here's what we're going to talk about when we come back. It's called the bounce back effect. Everybody does it. Athletes do it. right?
Yeah.
If you don't think for 1 minute that Viola Davis did not have to get herself in shape for the movie The Woman King, which she'll probably get nominated for, think again. Think again. If you don't think for 1 minute that people that you know have really stepped back from their optimal fit state and bounced back, these people are no different than you and me. You know what the difference is? They have their own Georgette LePage. That's the difference. They have a person, and that's what Georgette does. That supports them, that helps them, that guides them. Guilt and shame free. Let's take a short break, Jacob. Georgette, we'll be right back.
Sure.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Listen, this is Why Wait, Look Better, Feel Better, Be Your Best from the Inside Out. Georgette LePage is the host of the show, this podcast. And throughout the series, you know, what she has been bringing forward for all of us is not, look, you're not going to pull the book off the shelf and be able to read some sort of canned approach, because that's not what she does. But what Georgette takes on is how to take where you are, wherever that is in your life, and help you get to where you want to be. And when you take that approach with people, then what you have is you have to have an understanding of what it's like to be them, and she does. Before we talk about bouncing back, what is the best way, again, for people to learn about your programs and again, to work with you, not after the holiday, but to really set the stage for success now?
Right. That's a great point. Now is better than later, for sure. And my website is georgettelepage.com. And on there, I have my blog. I have Brains Magazine articles that I've written. They're all tied into real life. That's my main focus. All of my writing on there, you'll see the story about me. It's all real. I live what I teach to other people when I help other people with. And the biggest part is that this is all very doable. And it's helpful when you do have someone walk alongside you, for sure. Especially now, there's so much information out there, and people come to me and say, I don't even know where to start. And so one size does not fit all, luckily. And what works for one person might not work for another. So that's kind of why we talk, and then we see what, how do we want to move forward? Because I have a great 10-week Inside Out Melt Away program, which is no joke. If you are ready to focus and get started and be real and see results, that's where it's at. So you can find all that there at georgettelepage.com. I'd love to hear from people so we can see if we're a good match, because we have to be a good match for sure.
Yeah, I love that you're doing that, because what it does is it builds very strong foundations. And once you build a strong foundation, you can do what we're about to talk about. Let's talk about everybody wants to talk about the butterfly effect. I want to talk about the bounce back effect. That's what I want to talk about, because that's what we are capable of.
Yeah, for sure. And here's the reality: no matter what you do, whether it be weight loss or training for an event, an exercise event, a running event, a biking event, anything else that you're trying to do, you're going to make some mistakes along the way. There's no perfect journey for anyone in any way. In fact, some of the greatest people that have accomplished the biggest things made millions of mistakes along the way, and that's how they learned. So it's kind of, how do you bounce back from something? Because reality is you're going to have some derailing from your journey, and that's okay. Expect it, see it when it happens, and how do we get back on, right? So again, you have two choices. When you make a mistake, say right now, I'm just gonna use from what I know best. Say you're trying to lose weight and you were, aiming to lose weight before the holidays. Say you wanted 10 pounds off in a couple of months, which is very doable. For most people, it depends on a whole bunch of things, but that's doable. It's kind of getting on the bigger side, but it's doable. So here you are, you're 3 weeks away from Christmas and been doing so great, but you just haven't recovered from Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving didn't really manage your food. And that's I speak from experience with one of my clients in particular. We just walked through this last week. because she said, I don't understand. She's been losing weight at a good rate. And she said, I don't understand. This week I was up 2 pounds. And I said, okay, I'm non-judgmental. And that's a big part of coaching too. And so I listened and I said, tell me all the things. She said, well, I think I did everything right. I said, all right, tell me what that means. By the time we were finished, we had a long list of things where she had kind of gone off the beaten trail and done some things that she knew she didn't mean to or intend to do, but they happened. So she said at the end, her aha moment at the end of the session was, I had no idea that it wasn't a perfect week until we talked it out. So the point is, sometimes just listing things, writing it down or talking it out with somebody, a coach or whomever, will tell you the truth, because the truth is a big part of weight loss for sure. Thanksgiving was tough for a lot of people. It's a one-day event, but we make holidays between Halloween and New Year's Day. We make it a 91-day event instead of like a 4 separate time event. It's so funny when we do that.
We do.
So yeah, we've talked about that too.
We do.
It's crazy. We say holidays, but we really only mean 4 days, right? But we go all in. So when you're not going all in and you're trying and you have had a slip, no problem. At this point, you probably have some tools. You probably know what to do. Maybe you didn't drink enough water, for example. Maybe you had sweets when we were avoiding them. Maybe your portions were a bit bigger than normal. There are so many things that you would have already worked on with someone, or figuring out for yourself, where you can then write it down and say, all right, what went well and what didn't go so well? Because the scale is telling me something else, or my clothes are telling me something else. And then you just decide, okay, those are the focus areas for this week. Hop back on. Let's go. Not tomorrow, right now. Because clients will always say, oh, I'll start on Monday. That's the biggest, line for anyone. I'll just restart on Monday. I'm like, no, let's do it now. So how can we start right now? And they're like, oh, so there's accountability. And a willingness. You have to be willing to do this. You have to be all in on your goal, and you have to just know it's not easy. Otherwise, no one would be struggling. And there are millions of people struggling for sure. Not only have we not gotten back. Sorry, we haven't gotten back from the COVID, all that business and all that difficulty. But now it's holiday time, so you put them both together, and there you go.
And it's like the tag team of excuses. That's my phrase. I know you would never say that, but I'm going to say it. It really is like, I grew up with a dad that watched wrestling all the time. Okay. I mean, you have to understand, I've talked about my beginnings, and I grew up with a dad like that. Right. And my sister too. And you walk in the house and you're watching this wrestling and you're making a comment. But one of the things I love about it was the whole tag team thing. I love the concept of tag team. Now, I've seen that in my own sports, and I love that. But when we're talking about excuses, they can have the same energy. It's like this chain of events where one excuse talks to the other, then that one talks to the other. But we can break that chain at any point. See, we don't have to. I think sometimes we get afraid because we are trying to undo or bounce back from every single thing we've ever done. Have you run into people like that, instead of just taking like one thing, maybe?
Yeah, you're so right. That's why it's also closely related, whether we see it at first or not. You may be, upset about something that happened so long ago, and it translates, it's in everything that you do, your exercise, your health, your weight, how you have relationships with people, how you treat yourself is huge. That's our past, that's our programming, that's our experience. And so, I mean, I see that all the time. People will be feel very guilty and very shamed, ashamed of their failures in the past. And I'll say, well, let's look at what's worked for you. And we list all those things. And I'll say, let's look at what's not worked for you. And that list is much shorter actually than what has worked. It's just that, the bad apples always kind of oversee the good ones. You get 100 compliments and you get one criticism,
Oh,
that takes you down. So this is great for building your character too, because you learn how to have thick skin and how to do your thing. Because the holidays are tough. You might be trying to do your thing and someone else is kind of trying to derail you, because that's a reflection on them that they might have to do something.
yeah. I think this is important to talk about when we come back, because let's make the connection between the energy of bouncing back and the energy of what it means to talk about willpower, right? Because there is a connection. The bouncing back idea, it has the reputation of being short term. However, when you develop a bouncing back muscle, let's call it that. My mom used to call it perseverance, right?
Yeah.
There's something about the energy of that enables you and me and everybody to not have to start from ground zero, because we have the experience and we know what we're capable of. But when we come back, what is it that willpower does for us? Or better yet, doesn't do for us?
Yeah.
That willpower. What is that? What's going to get me to practice 8 hours a day? Or is it going to be something else? Georgette LePage, I'm Dr. Pat. Let's take a short break, Jacob, if we could. We'll be right back with all of you. Hey, everybody, welcome back. It's so great to have all of you tune us in and turn us on. This thing we're going to talk about next here with Georgette LePage is the host of the amazing show, Why Wait, WEIGHT. Look better, feel better, be your best. If you want to find out more about Georgette, just go to our website, and you can go GeorgetteLePage.com, or Facebook. It's Georgette Coaches You. There's so much out there. Just put her name in, Georgette LePage. She'll come up. Her shows will come up. But what we're talking about here, Georgette, is, and this is important for me too, as well as for our audience. The past sets no precedence for where we are at the moment and what we're about to do. There's a sign behind me in my bookshelf. I don't know if I'll be able to grab it and get it, but it's a sign that I created with a woman, Bobby Braden. And if you go into my office in our studios, you'll see this beautiful solid oak desk that my friend Bobby Braden left for me when she passed away. But we did a workshop together, and it was part of my spiritual journey. And I was so struck, even after learning about the power of now and Ram Dass's book, I was so struck by the power of next. And in that workshop, over 2 decades ago, I created that sign behind me, because back then you had these signs and you had to walk around and show people. But it's a reminder of me, and that's what I want to talk about with you now, because that's an energy that will help people get from whatever they thought they didn't do right. So can you just talk about the relationship? And there is a relationship between these two things, what we talked about in Bounce Back, and what we talked about as the pros, the cons, the good, the bad, and ugly of our cousin Willpower.
It does sound like a name, doesn't it? Willpower.
Willpower.
We've all, yes, we've all heard that. We've all heard, I think we have the idea in our mind that willpower is either something you have or you don't, and it's wonderful and it lasts forever. And so I'm sorry, but those things just are not quite how it is. And I always had people, oh, you have such willpower to exercise or whatever. And I thought, well, not really. I call it, it's a little bit different. Willpower to me is short-lived. It's a little jolt. It's a little, charge up. It's okay, let's go. I'm going to do this. This is my goal. Let's go. And willpower was really not ever something that, was kind of a tool for us to use forever. It's kind of a jump start. And I think earlier you used when we were talking, a nice nice, example of when you jumpstart your car, right? So it's not forever. It's just to get things rebooted. So willpower is really something that is kind of like a high dose of motivation in just a quick little jolt. And it kind of gets you started on something, but willpower really doesn't last. It needs to turn into motivation. It needs to turn into, a structure, some dedication. Discipline kind of comes across as that word is something that's kind of punitive, but it's just getting yourself focused, having a laser focus. And determination too comes in. So all these little things come together, and they're really much stronger than willpower. So when I coach people and they say, well, I don't have any willpower, I walk by my pantry and I've got to have a cookie. I say, well, that's, for a minute that might be willpower, but it's not something that, can help you for a long time. And they're like, what? So you have to make some decisions. You have to turn your brain in a different way. So sorry, willpower, but you're not as great as we think you are. So yeah, I get that a lot from people.
I love that we're bringing this up because it really leads to something else. Once upon a time when I was a corporate executive and even a consultant, people would hire me for the skill I had and also my research. I don't do it now because I realize it can't be done. You guys can email me about this. But I was hired for re-engineer. As a matter of fact, I worked on a project to re-engineer right where I live. Never thought I'd live here. All of the utility systems for Snohomish County PUD, like where I'm living, right? Who knew I'd have to now suffer from my own work? No, they're great. They're actually wonderful. But here's what happens sometimes. We get hit with information, Georgette, and they do not break it down the way you did. Now, in this corporate job of re-engineering, it didn't matter how strong the CEO or the president or the board felt. If that's all you needed was the strength of somebody else's will, the entire world would be in chaos. Let's just say that. But we also treat things as if they had no depth and breadth. And this is not one of them. I got an email this morning from, I follow Trend Hunter. I'm so interested in what things are changing. But I got something today that I'm going to respond to. Unlike me, because somebody listed 10 ways to innovate. Now we're talking about innovating around our weight today. See, that's really what we're talking about. But you see the difference between what you're doing and what this article did? You're giving people a roadmap and a blueprint. You're also saying, look, these are the experiences. This is what we know. This is what you can do again. So when I got this list, I was fascinated by it because it listed 10 things that no organization, and I was on the divestiture of the phone company, could ever do here. One, encourage employees to take risks and try out new ideas. Hello, when we repealed the psychological contract of work in 92, that was gone. So what I love about what we're talking about today, I want people to shift their minds. I don't want them to look at a list like this. I want them to hear what you're saying, what I'm saying, to say it doesn't matter what you've tried, what you failed. You're not a bad person. My sister was not a bad person.
Yeah.
Do you understand that, what I'm saying? Because we get these things in our emails. We get them about weight. We get them about diet. We start to feel bad. We oversimplify them. But what you're doing today, you're meeting a whole lot of people where they are. And you're saying, you're okay. Aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge for me, is that people realize that, again, we're here now. We're not 20 years ago when you were, losing all this weight and you felt great, or you have never lost weight. Right now, you're just saying, well, this is just how I am. I care about where you are right now. I'm going to learn a lot and help you to get some good clues from what you did before that worked well. Let's learn from that. Let's not stay there though. Let's move forward. No matter what age you are, if you're in your 30s, if you're 50s, 60s, 70s, I've had clients in their 70s and they're just discovering things. Because why? They're used to doing things the way they've always done them. We're creatures of habit. And some people don't have the self-worth to say, wow, I'm going to make some changes for myself,
Yeah.
for my health, and I'm worth it. So there's a lot of self-worth that we have to do some work on, as women especially. We really do. But I'm here to tell you that there is something that you can do, and we can take some motivation, we can spark that up, I can show you how that works. I can show you when things don't go well, how to deal with it, because what I find is that when I work with someone, a lot more comes out than just their weight. They're having, issues. I had this wonderful client, and she was doing all the work, and then one day she just burst out crying in the middle of a session, and I said, "What's wrong?" And she said, "I just realized I don't have any friends. I have no community. I'm not good with that." And I said, "Would you like to be good with that?" And she said, "Yeah, I'd like to learn that." And I said, "Well, I'm here to tell you it's not too late for anything." And this is a very bright, very successful woman who that piece in her life was just missing. So you can't always judge a book by its cover, which is something we women tend to do when we see social media. We see someone so perfect, we see all the images. We've talked about this before. Don't fall into that trap.
Yeah.
Don't do that. A picture you see up there could have taken 5, 10, 15, 20 takes before it's what it is. And just watch people take pictures in groups. It's hysterical. And we all do it, we want to get the best picture, but it's something. So what I do comes from reality. It's like, all right, you're living your life and we're going to live wonderful lives. How can we do that in a more joyful way every single day? And how can we make this health part automatic? Because people are not healthy. And there's no reason in this day and age that you can't, find something that works for you.
Yeah. I'm going to skip the break because I really want to piggyback off what you said. I really want you to explain this to people.
Yeah.
When I started this 20 years ago, I don't know anything about anything, but I knew intuitively I was never going to compare my show, which wasn't called We Should Talk About Show, Trust Plus. I just wasn't interested in comparison. I didn't care what to tell you, really. I was so excited about something I knew very little about. But what I discovered as time went on and people started to comment about the show and the network, there's something that clicks in us. We live in a society right now, Georgette, and I would love for you to talk to this. We live in a comparative society. Anybody that turns on the tube, you're going to watch a show, you're going to compare, then you're going to get a commercial and tell you how you're not doing very well, and then you're going to compare. Right here, this is a journey where you have to trust your own self. No comparison needed, right? Can you talk to that?
Absolutely. Compare and despair is one of the things that we do so well. And it doesn't serve us at all. All it does sometimes is just discourage us, and it keeps us back. We don't know someone's story. They might look great and we have, they just lost all this weight. We don't know every day what they did to do that. We don't know the determination, the hard work they put into it. It's not ours to judge. When you see someone who's trying to lose weight and you don't know that this is the 100th time they've tried to do this and they finally figured it out, it's not instant. We do this with athletes and with celebrities. Oh, they made it big. Well, every single one of them will probably tell you, no, it's very unusual in any industry to be an overnight sensation.
Yep.
Same thing as with weight loss. The same thing. Be patient. Find a good community. Find a good group, a Facebook group, a local group that meets in person. Find a coach. Find somebody that's going to listen and going to help to give you some direction. It's awfully lonely in this big 8 billion person world. It's lonely when you're trying to do something this big on your own. And maybe you are just overloaded with information. I will do that too. I go to buy something online, and by the time I've finished looking, I'm more confused than when I started. You know, for
Yeah.
a pair for something so small, like I don't even know what would be a good example, but same thing with weight loss. How do I know what's real? How do I know what's this trend? Is it, just take, for example, like, keto. We hear that all the time. How do I know what that's about? Well, a lot of
Oh
this,
my gosh, did you just say keto to
I
me?
I did, and I am personally not a large fan because of, for everybody. I've never
But
done
but let
that.
me just let's just talk about this for a minute. And I'm not going to talk about keto because it does
Yeah.
work for people. But here's
Yes.
what I do want to
Yes.
talk about. You see, if you're going to work with Georgette, she's going to guide you through what's going to work for you.
Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you what works for me. It is one of the most ridiculous. I'm going to call it a diet, but it's not. But it's one of the most, when I tell people that I'm doing it, they're like, no, you are not. Why? You're never going to do it. Okay, that's just me. It's the HCG diet.
Mhm.
Why does that work for me? One, because something in my hormone system gets replenished from it. Yes, it's ridiculous, 800 calories a day. No, you don't do it for the rest of your life, but it's the spark plug for me. Now, you got to talk to Georgette to really figure it out.
Yeah.
The keto diet was never going to work for me. I could never get that much fat. I could never. My friend said, eat the butter. I'm like, on what? On an elephant? I would have to put the butter like on an elephant. That's why they have to talk with you.
Yeah.
Because one thing is, and then there are new things that people have out here. Do I take this Semiglade, whatever this new FDA approved thing? Boy, don't make these decisions alone. And that leads me to really what we want to talk about with people now. I want to get back to your comment about keto diet. It's not just keto. There's keto. There's Whole30. There's the, what's the other one? Low carb, whatever it is. Then
Mhm.
there's the one where you I did this one. I did this. My doctor had to take me off this one. See, this is how obsessed I can become. I did the master cleanse for 42 days, and my
Ooh.
doctor's like, you have to stop. I said, I don't want to, but I modified it.
Yeah.
I did up until dinner, the master cleanse. Then I ate steamed vegetables, tofu, and tahini sauce and rice,
Wow.
all of which would go against any low carb diet.
Yeah.
But something about the body, isn't that what you're saying to people today? It's not this, it's not that,
Yeah.
it's not good, it's not bad.
Yeah.
Don't you help them find what's right for them? That's my point.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I'll say that right up front to anybody. And that's why I ask, what has worked for you in the past? And what has not? Because I have to know in order to help steer you in the right direction. For some people, it's simply small things like portion control and um, knowing what whole foods are. Some people just don't know what that means. They don't know how to eat, low carb versus no carb. And so I'm not a nutritionist, but I've
Yeah.
learned so much. I kind of should be. I've learned all these things because people are curious, and I have wanted to know all of these things too. And so I have to learn them, and I have to always remind my own self what works for one person does not necessarily work for everyone. So that's why there are so many options out there. But some people who aren't, ready for that, and some people who just need some adjustments and some mindset shifts and some smaller things, that's exactly where we start. And then what I find with clients is along the path, they'll kind of get a little curious. Well, I wanted to ask you about this, and what do you think about this? Or, gosh, I read that you're supposed to drink water. How much is that? It's something can be very small, and something can be very complicated too. So,
Yeah.
the biggest part is that one size does not fit all. If anyone has heard anything today, hear that, please, and hear that you can get back up and move forward instead of restarting from the beginning. I mean, just think about running a race. Like I ran a 5K on Saturday. I hadn't run one in 3 years. I put myself, yeah, I've done a marathon, several half marathons, all these things over the years. I put myself 7 weeks ago on this, scheduled run thing on my calendar, and I did not miss. I may have shifted some things. I did not miss. I didn't tell really anyone I was doing it because I've done so many of them before and it's been a while. So I did it. I showed up. and my husband was not feeling well, so I had to go all by myself, which was weird, but I did it, and I was so proud of myself. And I never would have like guessed that I could get back up from running. Once you are 2 weeks off running, you have to start all over again. So I was way off from that, but I did it, and guess what? I placed third in my age category, which I have never done. So I am thrilled. I can't tell people enough. Don't stop before the end. Don't stop reading the book before you get to the last page. Keep going. Keep going. You never know, and your motivation will carry you. I promise. I do.
Look, I love what you just shared, because we always ask ourselves, and would love for you to address this in the time we have left. Two things. I had a coach once tell me, a sports coach tell me, he didn't use the term whole foods. He just said food. He said food does not come in a bottle, a package, a plastic container, or a can. Now, this was before all the fancy packaging we're doing.
Yeah.
And I remember him telling me that and thinking to myself, well, wait a minute. I grew up on macaroni and cheese, so that's not it. I didn't know, but when he laid that out for me, I had a new level of awareness. I'm not telling you that first time around the grocery store was not challenging, but I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I wanted you to really talk to people as we move forward with this now on something that you said earlier. It doesn't matter where you start. I remember being the heaviest I've ever been in my life, from an illness where my cells started working. And I remember the first time I put on sweatpants and I literally attempted to run around Green Lake 3 miles. It was hard, but I did it. Run 3 steps, walk, run 3 steps. There's a difference between self-will and determination, and I'd love for you to talk to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Determination is when you have an idea in mind, what you want. What do you want? What result do you want? And then you get it. You work for it. You put it on the calendar. You make it like an appointment. You make it like, a time you're meeting with someone. You honor that. It's so much different than just a fleeting idea, and no excuses for reaching this goal. There might be some reasons that you had to regroup and some reasons you had to reschedule and move things around. That's life. That's good. We want that, because that's where it works better, when you realize we have to do things that are, real life. But move forward. Just keep pushing. And I know how that felt to cross that finish line on it was just last Saturday. And I thought, gosh, I'm glad I did that. It would have been so easy. I was so busy this fall, and my son went to college. I was very preoccupied with how that felt, and all the things I'm working on. And I thought, I did it anyway. And I really wish people would just not wait. Don't wait for the right time.
Yeah.
Just do it. Get started, because you're worth it.
Yeah. I mean, part of what I'd love for you to leave everybody with is, are the tricks of the mind. And we've talked about so many. I mean, during this show, you've talked about so many. We didn't call them that, but that's really what they are.
Yeah.
The tricks of the mind would say, wow, look, you're too far gone to do anything that's going to make a difference with your body. I like the one where you're too old, because 70 is the new 40. I don't know if anybody's watching that. And I will say to you that those of you out there that, quote, don't look your age, clearly you're going to want to listen to the upcoming show on ageless living, by someone that doesn't look her age. But that's what happens. We're so focused on categorically defining our limitations. And I would love for you to help people now not do that. Age is not a factor. We would not see people at cross swimming at champ, but yet we are so socialized about, so much so. Last thing, I play a sport. I was just in a tournament, right?
Yes.
3 gold medals. Do you know the controversy in the tournament? I'm warming up. All right. And then I go to play the match. And the woman I'm playing is like, you don't play me. And I'm like, why? Go to your age group. I'm like, this is my age group. She said, no, you should not play me. It was such a big thing. I had to go. I had to show my license.
Oh my
Now, I still won.
gosh.
But it's an age thing. You're supposed to look like this and not like this. You're this age, you're never going to lose weight. Please address your unlimited perspective to bring this home today for people.
Yeah, absolutely. You can do anything you want to. You just have to choose your goal, set your path, and do the work. Okay, it's pretty simple, and it's so helpful when you have someone next to you to help you. Being alone in this is not the best for most people. Very few people can do it, but you have it in you. And when you want something badly enough, you figure out how to have it, and how to get it done. We do that with other things too. Why not do it with weight? Why wait? Why not? It's part of you. It's what you want. So stand up, move forward, and let's go today.
I love it. Georgette LePage. Georgette, here's what you should know. I had an article come over my desk today, and I know you talk about this, but I really want to give you credit for this. The one thing you've said over and over again, it's not comparison, it's consistency. And one of the latest coaching articles that just came out talks about the misunderstanding about it. And the fact in this particular case, it had to do with life. But that is the essence of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's consistency and it's everything else. But I
Yeah.
want to say this. This is not a journey people have to take alone. My sister couldn't do it alone. Thank you for everything you do.
Yeah. Thank you. My pleasure.
So everybody, Georgette LePage. Jacob, thank you again, pushing all the right buttons as usual. And thank you out there. I mean, I want to leave you with this. Please don't hesitate. You do not have to take this on alone. Even if you're thinking to yourself, yeah, it sounds good, I'm going to do it. Why wait? Don't wait. Thank you all for
Right.
tuning us in and turning us on. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
You've been listening to Why Wait? Look better, feel better, be your best from the inside out with me, Georgette LePage. Tune in each month as Dr. Pat Baccili and I tackle topics that are often seen as roadblocks for weight loss. Being healthy doesn't have to be hard or impossible. This show leaves you feeling empowered with new strategies and ideas to jumpstart your new health journey. If you're interested in finding out more about me, visit georgettelepage.com.